guys, I'm Samantha, and it just so happens that my mom almost married my high school principal. One fall evening, I was sitting on the couch watching TikTok videos. Suddenly, someone rang the doorbell. I wanted to open it, but my mother blocked my way. She turned me around and pushed me toward the stairs to the second floor. I'll get it. Who is it? Secret. Here's $20 for your pizza. Mom handed me the $20. I looked at her suspiciously and took the bill. When Mom left, I looked out the window, but all I could see was the bumper sticker of the departing car. Super Director. That's crazy. At night, I woke up to the car headlights shining through my window. I heard my mother's voice. "Don't call me again!" The door slammed loudly. I went downstairs, rubbing my sleepy eyes. My distraught mother sat on the couch. What happened? Terrible date. He's disgusting. I could not find the words to calm her down, so I just hugged her. In the morning, I went to school. As I crossed the school parking lot, I suddenly stopped. There was a car parked in one of the spaces with a Super Principal sticker on it. I couldn't believe it. Mom went on a date with the principal of our school? I guess it was just a coincidence and nothing more. During math class, while I was absorbed in a problem, I was called over the speakerphone to the principal's office. I froze in surprise. What does he want from me? I haven't done anything. But there was nowhere else to go. I gathered my things and walked out of the classroom. A few minutes later, I was standing in front of the door to the principal's office. I was about to knock when I heard, "Samantha, come in." I walked in and stopped in the middle of the room, shifting from one foot to the other. I couldn't tell from the look on the principal's face what kind of mood he was in. "Samantha, I have some questions for you." "What do you want to know?" After a silence, the man asked, "Can you tell me what your mother likes to do? What are her hobbies?" I finally figured out what he wanted, and I even relaxed a little. After all, there was no mistake, and my mom really blew off the headmaster on the date last night. I shrugged. "I think my mom hinted yesterday that she didn't want to see you anymore." The man sighed heavily. "Please, Samantha, you know I could be useful to you." Now that conversation had interested me. In what? For example, I have the answers to the chemistry test. It got me thinking. I mean, me telling him what my mom's favorite flower or perfume is, it wouldn't hurt anyone, and I could get something valuable. I nodded in agreement. For about half an hour, the principal asked me questions about Mom. Then he handed me a sealed envelope. "Thank you for your help." I grabbed the envelope and slipped it into my bag. We didn't see each other. The chemistry test was due the next day, and it took me a few minutes to write it, and I was already hiding the answer sheet in my bag when someone called out to me. It was Simon. He was clutching a tenner in his hand. Why don't I make some extra money? I discreetly handed him the answers. After class, Simon came up to me. "Where did you get them?" "Never mind. Did you want something?" "Yeah, I gave the answers to a couple more of my friends." I wanted to yell at him for doing it without my permission, but the guy held out another $50. Wow, that's pretty cool. Not only did I pass the test with flying colors, but I made some money too. In the evening, though, I was a little upset by an unexpected guest. When someone rang the doorbell, I immediately rushed to open it. On the threshold stood the principal with a bouquet of Mom's favorite flowers. Mom came downstairs. "What are you doing here?" she said indignantly. "I wanted to apologize. Here, take this bouquet from me." Mother smiled and inhaled the fragrance of the flowers. "They are my favorite. How did you know?" The director held out his hand to Mom. "It doesn't matter. The important thing is that we're going to see your favorite movie now." Mom smiled and extended her hand back to him. The door slammed on my face. I snorted and went to my room. Well, let the lovebirds have their fun. Mom had a right to be happy after all. Mother returned late in the evening. She told me how her boyfriend had changed. He was polite and literally guessed her every wish. Honestly, I didn't like our principal. He seemed like a coward and selfish to me. But because he regularly supplied me with answers to tests, I could forgive him about these qualities. The next day, the principal called me back into his office. He started asking me questions again. "What did she say about the date?" I decided to lie a little to get my advantage. She said the date was normal. The director thought about it and seemed even a little angry. "Normal is not a result. Tell me more. I must have missed something." I looked at the ceiling. I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me.
You know there's a city algebra test coming up, right? Are you ready?
I haven't had time to study. The principal patted the folder on his desk.
If you tell me about your mom, you won't have to study.
I sat down in the chair beside his desk and laid out all the things I hadn't told him the last time. After the tedious conversation, I went outside for some air, with the file in my hands, of course. I cautiously peered into its contents. My eyes lit up, and I eagerly studied page after page. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind me.
Wow, are those algebra answers?
Simon had his phone out and was about to take a picture. I jerked the page away abruptly. Not so fast. $30.
30? That's a lot.
It's a city test. Simon nodded. He grudgingly handed me the 30. By the way, I made Simon sign the answer sheet so he wouldn't send it to his friends, because if the signed photo gets to the principal, everyone would think that Simon was the one who gave out the answers. It was only after the signature that I let a classmate take the photo. The truth is, the chatterbox had spread the word about my treasure, and in a few minutes I was surrounded by people who wanted answers. All of them, of course, signed. You wouldn't believe it, but after everyone finally dispersed with the answers they had, I was holding $1,000 in my hand. That same evening, I went to the mall to spend it. I went into several boutiques. I walked out of each of them with a bag in my hand. When I went to school the next day, everyone was shocked. I looked stunning. Everyone gave me an A and applauded me. Turns out my whole class had gotten an A on the city test. But not everyone had as much fun as I did. While we were having fun, the committee was already knocking on the door of the principal's office. They could not believe that more than 30 students had passed the test with a perfect score, so the principal was accused of leaking information. When I walked past his office, these serious guys were just coming out. The principal looked at me reproachfully and invited me into his office.
Do you happen to know how all 30 high school students passed the test with flying colors?
I shook my head in the negative. I have no idea.
Then why don't you explain to me where you got those brand name clothes?
Broke the piggy bank. The principal smiled. He looked like a supervillain.
You'll be staying after school for a whole week.
I stomped my foot in protest, but there was nothing else I could do. He was the principal. I had to put up with it. After the punishment, I went home. At dinner, my mother again talked about my tormentor. He is so cool. He knows everything about me, and he's so sensitive. I wanted to tell her everything, but I was afraid of her reaction. It was the last day of my punishment. I was finishing my homework when the principal came into the office.
Your punishment is extended for another week.
At first, I wanted to say nothing, but the injustice infuriated me. So I made a counter-argument. I will tell my mother that I leaked all the information about her to you.
If you squeak a word, I'll kick you out of school.
I was shaking with anger, but there was nothing I could do. I got up, walked to the board, and wrote with chalk, "Principal Dumbass." The man looked at the writing, but didn't react at all. By the end of my punishment, I had written all over the board, and in the evening, there was another surprise waiting for me. Super Director's car was parked in front of the house. I opened the front door. When I saw what was going on inside, I was seized with panic, shock, and fear at the same time. In the middle of the living room, the director was on one knee, and in his hand was a box with a ring in it. Mom took the ring and put it on her finger. Yes! I had to intervene, because this man is not at all what he pretends to be. Mother, don't! The headmaster looked at me menacingly. I could read on his lips, "I'll kick you out of school." I put my head down. I shouldn't have dragged it out. I went over and hugged her, tears streaming down my face. Mom won't be happy with him. He's lying to her. The director didn't waste any time. He arranged a wedding in a small church on the weekend. That very day came. There were a lot of guests in the church. Everyone but me was smiling and was happy. I didn't like everything that was going on and was putting off the event as best I could. I went out on the stage and sort of accidentally dropped the wedding arch. The director jumped out and started fixing it. He growled at me like a wild animal. And then they brought the cake into the hall. I approached it and began to eat in front of everyone. I broke off huge chunks with my hand and stuffed them into my mouth. Then I grabbed the groom's figure. He's just ruining everything. And in one motion, I threw it in the trash. The guests were shocked by my behavior. I was lucky my mother didn't see me. She was in the other room getting ready. The principal came up to me, grabbed me by the arm, and dragged me forcefully into the room. He leaned toward me.
As soon as I marry your pretty mother, I'll send you to a military school for troubled teens.
The principal started fixing his tie. But you don't even love her! Why?
Your mother is insanely beautiful. That's enough. Also, I heard some valuable papers were left to her after your daddy died.
I wiped the tears from my face and smiled broadly.
What are you smiling about?
The man frowned. I pointed to the phone on the table in the corner of the room. You can smile too. Over there. The director quickly left the room. A projector was already showing a video on the wall of the hall. The video of his confession. The man's face turned blue. The guests began shouting at him and threw everything they could at him. My mother was already standing on the stage. The director ran up to her.
Honey, you got it all wrong.
Mom gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. She grabbed the already nibbled cake and threw it at her loser fiancé. I watched the whole thing and laughed, while the principal, covered in cream, ran out of the church. He stumbled, fell, and got up again. I went over to my mother. She smiled and hugged me. Don't you want to tell me how he found out everything about me? Just promise you won't get mad. I'll try. Back at school, I was afraid to meet our principal. I thought he'd take revenge on me, but it turned out that our small town found out about his plan, and the scoundrel had to leave because everyone hated him. Well, that's the story. Have you ever done something you've regretted? Write in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe to the channel.